Hi, everyone. Bill Renchler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Hope everyone is having a good Monday, especially after, again, some of the really busy stuff we had last week and over the weekend. It's Monday. It's been a few weeks, but we're actually talking with Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau. Josh, it's nice to have you back in the streaming studio today. Again, between my schedule, your schedule, we've been off for the last couple weeks, but we're back again today. How's it feel to be back in the saddle?
Feels great, Bill. I'm sure that I had a little bit more sleep than you over the past weekend, but I do appreciate the work from you and your colleagues at 1011, keeping us all safe since Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're happy to do it. Again, it's one of our primary jobs working in weather and in broadcasting is to be on top of situations like that. We never like it. We really like it when it's kind of like today, and it's blue skies. It's absolutely beautiful outside, but unfortunately, again, it's springtime in the Midwest, and so we're going to deal with it. And so today, we're actually having again a topic that we have not really talked about all that in depth in the segment today, but we're talking about kind of what to do after an event like this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an event like this. It could be, the flooding like we had in 2019, wildfires like we saw in Hawaii over the past however many months ago that was. And so, again, got some really good things for hopefully people who have been affected by this storm on Friday, some good information for them.
Yeah, the reality is no matter where you live, a natural disaster almost certainly will come to your door at some point. Much as we'd like to think that we're not going to be the ones who have to, navigate those situations, as we saw on Friday, very rapidly can become something that is incredibly top of mind, something that is incredibly stressful to navigate. And sadly, as consumers, we make panicked decisions when we're put in situations like that. So if Friday is a wake-up call for anyone, or just an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what post-disaster safety and cleanup look like, we have an entire landing page on bbb.org. We call it Disaster HQ, which can walk you through some of the myriad steps you need to take when something should happen. What everything from finding appropriate insurance information to what not to do, what to be on the lookout for, because sadly there's an entire the subset of contractors, both scammers and otherwise, who are looking to the skies, as it were, to rush into impacted areas. And again, anytime you make a decision that impacts your family or your livelihood, you want to make sure that it's an informed one. So that's really what I think the benefit of this hub, this content hub is providing you with some necessary steps to make what is an incredibly overwhelming process a little bit less so.
And so this is a link, again, that you can, if you go to the Better Business Bureau's website and just search natural disasters, I'm sure you'll come up with this link. We're also going to put this link in the description of our YouTube video as well as on our web story on 1011now.com. So again, for those people who need that resource, this is a good place to start because, Josh, there are very few people in life who have to recover. Like from something that we're seeing on the screen right now, which again, this is footage from up near Elkhorn. Again, some of the tornado damage that we saw from up again near Omaha. There are exceptionally few people who have to deal with these things. And so what do you do when something like this does happen? Because we always think, we see the video, whether it's on national news or whatever, tornadoes go through whatever local community, and that's never going to happen here. And that's not the reality. It will happen here. It did happen here, and it will happen here again, the next time it happens. And so what does that process look like? And so again, the BBB has some really good steps. And so can you again take us through, I guess, what those steps are and what people need to be watching for?
Yeah, the first step, of course, is to ensure that everybody, including your pets, are safe and accounted for. You want to make sure that that you were able to establish a line of contact with those who are most impacted. But where the conversation really shifts is knowing what to do and what not to do as far as getting back to ideally where you were, whether it's fixing issues around the house or issues with the vehicle or issues with a community, helping a neighbor. You want to make sure that you have an understanding of what that damage assessment is, right? You take photographs of the property, take photographs of the vehicle, but you also immediately get into contact with your insurance provider to discuss what is covered and what isn't, how that claims process works, such that you aren't creating issues for yourself down the road in addition to the issues that you're facing immediately, right? A lot of folks sadly jump into immediately working on making permanent repairs. You want to make sure that that has been approved by your insurance company before you go through that process, and then sadly realize that you aren't going to be reimbursed for that work. Again, temporary repairs is really, a shorthand for what that section of the site indicates. Of course, you want to make sure that you're dressing appropriately for the situation. So you're not wearing, shorts in this situation. You want to make sure that everything, is going to allow for you to have the best experience possible and the safest experience possible. And then, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there are folks out there who sadly are truly monitoring weather patterns and going to impacted areas to, in some cases, provide shoddy workmanship, in some cases, partially fulfill projects, and in some cases, outright scam those who are most vulnerable, who have already been victimized by a natural disaster. So just because somebody shows up to your front door does not mean that they are the best person for the job. In fact, there might be a reason why they're showing up to your front door and not waiting for you to call them, right? So you want to make sure that you are you understand the wrinkles regarding price exploitation, that you're reporting suspect activity, and that you're doing some research into who the person who is most capable, most deserving of your time and attention is, and not just agreeing to terms with the person who showed up on your front door first.
Yeah, this is a situation again. A lot of people are probably panicking. Needing to get maybe significant repairs done on their home, and if someone just shows up, it can be really easy to fall into that trap. But again, this is a time to kind of be like, okay, I need to reach out to credible contractors, people who have a record of completing projects and doing also good work. Again, BBB has resources to find those credible contractors.
Yeah, one of the major benefits, I would say, of going through the BBB directory is knowing that that person, that company is licensed. You cannot be BBB accredited unless you are appropriately licensed. And while that might seem like a small issue, in a vacuum, I promise you that if there is something impacting your house, impacting your loved ones, it is the most important thing that that person is effectively trained and legally allowed to provide that service in your community. The licensing will change state to state. So if somebody comes from out of town, right, who might be a perfectly serviceable contractor in one region, does not mean that they are perfect for you, right? And you have no guarantee that they are licensed unless you do a little bit of research. Scammers are really, really good at presenting themselves as angels who show up on your front door. I just happen to have some wood in the back of my truck. I just happen to have the resources you need to get back on your feet. We all want to know that a golden ticket is waiting out there for us somewhere, and I'm sure it does exist in some capacity. But you also want to make sure that with something so consequential, something so important like your home, the safety of your loved ones, that you are working with the best possible person or company for your project. So doing some research and avoiding those knee-jerk reactions or those decisions that are born out of incredible stress and anxiety is going to be best practice for you, so you can make the best decision for yourself and your loved ones.
And it should also be said, while we're having this discussion, there's going to be, I don't even know how many, probably hundreds of hardworking Nebraskans who come in to help people who are not looking to try and scam someone or something like that, who are just looking to lend a hand. So we also just want to make sure we're sort of, we're not painting everyone with this brush. There are going to be plenty of people who want to know how they can help, whether that's financial resources, their time, their trade craft, or something like that. So there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be helping the people who have been affected by Friday's storms. But again, we also want people just to be aware. There's also probably going to be some people mixed in there that, like we've been talking about, are looking to take advantage of a really bad situation.
We've talked about this before, Bill, with regard to charity, right? There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of Nebraskans or people around the U.S. who are interested in supporting those who are most impacted. Start a GoFundMe page, start a crowdfunding site. That does not mean that that person is capable or trained or has the necessary resources to facilitate that support. right? It is not always a matter of you're a scammer or you're not a scammer, or you're a legitimate business or you're not a legitimate business, or you want to help or you don't want to help. In some cases, folks get in over their head when they overpromise and underdeliver, or they're unable to recognize that it actually takes a certain amount of training and work and resources to be able to provide support and in the sense of being a first responder or providing some of those that necessary information to someone who is going through incredible hardship. Another tip that we have is regarding contracts, right? We talk pretty regularly about ensuring that everything is itemized. It is so easy for a business to paint with the broadest possible brush for your project, especially if you're talking about an entire home rebuild. You want to make sure that everything is itemized nice and neat, such that if something is to come up, you can actually point to a document and say, no, this is the amount for materials, this is the amount for labor. All of this was itemized ahead of time. It's too easy to allow someone to, essentially create a blank check situation and then withhold the work or withhold, resources unless an exorbitant amount is actually paid out. So you want to make sure that detailed written contract is approved before work commences. It should clearly outline the scope of the work, the materials, the labor, and the costs. Verbal promises are really lovely in theory. You want to make sure that you also have a written promise in the form of a contract as well.
And then when you're paying out again for this work, always likely avoiding paying completely up front. You may have to put down 10% or 50% or whatever that number might be, but that complete final payment should be delivered as soon as the work is completed.
Yeah, our best practice is 50% or less. Anyone who is asking for more than 50% upfront is probably someone to avoid. There are reasons why that is not standard practice, right? If something is to come up, if plans do need to shift, you don't want to be out that full sum of money. Most reputable companies do not require full upfront payment for their work. So you want to make sure that anytime you hear language like that, or you receive, in some cases, this isn't all about door-to-door salesmen. We hear about social media targeting, digital targeting, email targeting, unsolicited SMS, text message communication. If you hear anyone requesting over any form of communication that you require a full upfront payment before work can be started, that is someone to stay clear of, or to, at the very least, to do some research on what an alternative might look like.
So again, just to kind of give a quick recap here. So we have, the initial damage assessment, which I'm sure for a lot of people who have been affected by Friday storms have probably already gone through and probably done a lot of that. Taking care of emergency repairs, stuff that you kind of need to get done right away. That's kind of step 2. 3 is securing that contractor, finding someone reputable. Again, you can use BBB as a resource to find those people, being aware of the contract, and then also, again, being aware of the financial agreements and the payments for those contractors. Again, some pretty obvious things in there, like you said. If they're asking for more than 50%, they're asking to pay in Bitcoin or some other form of currency other than cash or a check. Things to look out for. So there's a lot. There's a lot in each of those steps. And for a lot of these folks who have been affected, this is going to be a very long process to kind of get back to where they were before these storms.
Yeah, I would say that it's important to remember that there's no fast track to getting back on your feet with situations like this. Much as would love for someone to swoop in and be able to solve all of our problems to build a home overnight, that's just completely unrealistic, right? So you want to make sure that every decision is calculated, it's informed, it's motivated. You've thought through the pros and cons of those decisions. And in that way, you know that you are making the best determination for yourself and your loved ones long term, rather than kind of focusing on what might be a short-term fix, which might have long-term ramifications.
And so, kind of pivoting from this topic, Josh, to again people who are going to be interested in helping out again the victims of this severe weather. Tips, advice on again best places to send potentially their money or things like that. Again, there's going to be a lot of places to probably do it. Again, there's the Husker Athletic Department, again, is selling T-shirts. All the proceeds are going to the Red Cross, but there's probably going to be other things that crop up where that money's not going exactly where we want it to go.
Yeah, there will be no shortage of opportunities to give back to those who are in incredible need at this time. you want to make sure that you're working with organizations you can trust, organizations that have a proven track record. As simple as that sounds, I promise you, so many folks are taken by a striking story or a striking image or a striking video, and they completely bypass the reality that this organization has never facilitated support, has never been a philanthropic endeavor, does not have the resources necessary to carry out any sort of support for those who are impacted by natural disasters. We have an entire landing page dedicated to this. It's called give.org. We hold standards by 20 standards of charitable accountability that covers everything from whether or not you have a board of directors, as you are legally required to, whether or not you have proven to be transparent in the past with advertising, whether you disclose the amount that your organization spends on marketing efforts. All of these things presumably you would want to know before you provide any sort of payment. But the shorthand of it is, if you haven't heard of that organization before, do some additional research into why that might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of offshoots of, say, the Nebraska Athletic Department, right, who might be selling merch and might say that a certain cut of that is going to support those who are most impacted. What does that mean? Have they ever actually done this in the past? Presumably, you would want to work with a company that or an organization that is capable of providing essential support, first responder type support to those who are most impacted. And don't be sold by just a sob story. There are so many ways that those can be concocted. You don't know if it's legitimate. So work with an organization that has proven to be accountable in the past.
And then again, kind of on the flip side, before a natural disaster strikes, again, this is top of mind for a lot of people now. What are some things, again, you mentioned it, maybe, as with the initial damage assessment, but, kind of documenting what's in your home, what's around your home, what's in your shed, maybe what are some of the more expensive things that you have some sort of documentation. Again, from the weather side of things, we always want people to have their severe weather kit. That may include, some sensitive documents, birth certificates, things like that, or at least copies of those. Again, what else should people kind of be on the lookout, in preparation for the potential for severe weather?
It's exactly what we would recommend if someone is in the process of moving. For instance, May is National Moving Month. So a lot of folks are picking up all of their belongings and moving to a new location. What do we recommend? That you itemize everything in your home, whether it's, you're taking photos or you have a spreadsheet or it's written out on a piece of paper. You want to make sure that you have a list, ideally with, some photographic evidence that you own certain things, right? Because what's insurance is going to be requesting of you if something were to go awry. Have an inventory of your items, your belongings, what your house is appraised at. All of this information is really, really helpful to have beforehand, so you're not playing additional cleanup duty on the back end. But ensure that you have all of this information itemized, like you mentioned, Bill, having that safety kit or that kit that you can turn to in times of great stress and urgent situations, such that you're not frantically trying to pull it all together in the moment. So doing a little bit of legwork, such that you know exactly what your home is worth, what the items within the home are worth, and you have all evidence that you do own these things, is always going to be best practice.
Yeah, just a little bit of legwork, again, can go a long way in helping you in these situations. And again, it's a little bit of legwork that in the weather community, you as well, and anyone really, hopes that you never actually have to use. We'd rather you have it than not, and we'd rather you never have to use it. Which is what I told some kiddos this morning when I was out talking on a school visit. We want you to know your severe weather plan, and I hope you never actually have to use it. So a lot of good information today, Josh. Again, for folks who may be jumping in a little bit late here, we're going to put a link to the landing page for sort of natural disaster resources with the BBB in the YouTube description as well as online, so they can get information there. Josh, is there anything else we wanted to let people know today?
If you see something, if you hear something, if someone comes to your door who is not interested in actually supporting you or does not have your best intentions in mind, if you hear of a scam, if you hear of a shady business, we want to know about it. The only way we can protect all of us is by each of us being accountable for speaking up when things happen. And much as we'd love to, fast forward 2 weeks and not have heard anything from any consumer, we know that does not always mean that every company, every experience was legitimate. So it's very important to speak up. We encourage you to come forward with your story so you can protect others in your community.
Awesome. All right, Josh, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, that was Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau. Again, some really good topics. Again, kind of navigating post-storm damage and recovery, and again, maybe some prevention in there as well. Again, having that plan, having an itemized list of kind of what's in your home. So hopefully, again, some good information for the folks, again, who potentially have been impacted by Friday's storms. And again, moving forward, again, having that plan in place as well. So appreciate everyone for tuning in, for watching. As always, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all of your latest news, weather, and sports. Until next time, folks, hope everyone has a nice Monday.